Hey everyone, welcome. It's so nice to see everyone joining. Hello from the UK, Elisa from Canada, from the Netherlands, from India, Arkansas, Ontario, and from Brazil. So it looks like there are many of you from all over the world. So it's always a challenge to find the right time zone. So here it's 5 p.m. in the afternoon. I know that for some of you it's morning, so good morning, good afternoon from France. Hello Erica from Canada. So this new live series, it's called Creative Art Time, and it's just a place where we can relax, create, and talk about art together. So today I will share all my favorite materials for graphite and charcoal pencil drawings. So if you have ever wondered what I use and why, I want to go through all of the materials with you together. And I'll also be answering your art questions as we go, so feel free to drop them in the chat anytime. And I also have a question for all of you. If you feel like sharing, let us know in the chat, how long have you been drawing? Are you just getting started, or maybe you've been drawing for a few months already, or maybe more than a year? Let us know. So when I first started, it's already 10 years ago, 2015, or maybe even 2014, when I first started picking up my pencils again. 2015 is when I created my first video, so that's already 10 years ago. And some of the materials, I got them 10 years ago and I still use them now. They are my all-time favorite, and yeah, something I just like. You know that when you like a certain type of material, or you're just used to using a certain type of paper and pencils, and then you try different materials, then yeah, they're not just the same. So I've tried over the years different materials, but I just have a few favorites. So Elisa is just a few weeks. Shannon has been studying years. Now I'm ready to practice what I learned. Simon is beginner and very little talent. 3 years. Okay, so some of you are just started out, some of you are already drawing. So let's get started with the materials. I'm going to start with the pencils. And I'm not sure if you knew already, but Faber-Castell is my favorite brand to use. And these are the 9000 graphite pencils. So Erica started drawing 3 years ago, 2017. Hello Margaret, you started last March. Glad you could join us. Ton started 1.5 years ago. So I hope I can inspire you, and by showing you what I use and what works for me. Because I remember when I was a beginner, I just got some pencils, but I was wondering how you can layer, how you can blend, and all of the materials and tools some of the artists use. So I always like hearing or watching from other artists which materials they use and what they use them for. So I have swatched these. These are the 9000 graphite pencils, and yeah, these are great for blending. But as you can see here in the value scale that I created all up until here, this is the 8B, and this is the 8B with a few layers. If you just add, this is using really hard pressure, but when I draw, I actually never use hard pressure. I like to layer, so I build up the layers using light pressure. So a few layers, you get this dark, but when you're going to create a realistic drawing, you need darker values. So you need all the way up to black. And yeah, the graphite pencils don't get this black. So you can see here, these are the pit graphite matte, and their idea was to create pencils and so that you don't see that shine. Let me show you with one of the drawings I have here. So if you look, let me show you like from a certain angle, you see that graphite shine that you get. So their idea was creating pencils with darker value so that you don't get this graphite shine. I don't really mind getting that graphite shine because I still like how these pencils layer. So I tried these out, and I would say they are great to use for darker value. So you can see here, these are the 9000 2B, and this is the pit graphite 2B. You can see that they are darker, the 4B, the 8B, if you compare them to each other. So these are great for the darker values, but when I compared them in a drawing, I just noticed that these, yeah, my favorite pencils, they just blend and layer better. So these would still be my go-to pencils, the 9000, and then I can use these for the darker values. So this is a Polychromos colored pencil. So this is just the black version. And this is one, I think this is the swatch of the black pencil. Yeah. So this is just as dark as the 14B. And this is what I have always been using. And it combines really great with the graphite. So this value, this is the black colored pencil, and that's what I've been using for years. That's what I use to create this darkest value, you see, because if I show you with the value scale, if I only use the 8B, I wouldn't be able to get that really dark value in the pupil, here for the eyelashes, and then a few values in the eyebrow as well, you see. So that's what I use with the black pencil. And I have also, over the years, I have tried out different brands. So these are the swatches of the Pit Graphite Matte. I have also tried these ones, Staedtler, Mars Lumograph. Maybe you recognize some of the brands. Let me show you. This is the 4B. And these are actually also quite soft. And they layer quite similar to these. But yeah, there is a difference. So these are still my favorite for layering. They're just smoother, and also the paper, we're going to go over paper in a few minutes, but the paper is also really important when you're going to create a drawing. So these these aren't really something I liked using. And then I also have the Mars Lumograph black. So these are Staedtler, and these are Staedtler as well. So Elisa also has Staedtler. And let's see, I got these because I was searching for darker values. So I wanted to use graphite, or there is a bit of carbon in these graphite pencils, so that's why they can make them darker. That's what I have read. So I wanted to use some pencils that are darker, so that I didn't have to use the black colored pencil anymore. So that's when I tried out the Staedtler, and these are also quite dark. So this is the regular, this was the 4B, I think. And they are a bit lighter than the 9000. So, and these are already quite light. Hi June. from the UK. I'm so glad you benefited from the lessons and that you have learned from them. I'm glad you could join us. So we're going over the graphite pencils that I love using. These are the Staedtler Mars Lumograph. This is the 4B, so let's compare it to the 4B Pit over here. And yeah, it feels a bit, not smooth or not soft. It doesn't like glide over the paper. And this is Bristol Smooth paper, the paper I always use. And when I blend or when I shade with these pencils, it's really soft and smooth, and with these it's not. I have an example here. So this is a drawing I created using these pencils, the Staedtler, and I wanted to see how they turned out, but I didn't like the shading and the blending. They aren't as smooth and soft as the regular graphite pencils that I use, the Faber-Castell. And maybe I can show you the difference here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but here you can see this really nice smooth blending. And here you see that this is the same paper, so the smooth Bristol paper. You should get really smooth blending with this, but I just couldn't get it with these pencils. So you can see the difference here. See, so this is just a preference. Some artists prefer like kind of like a rough texture, or maybe see that kind of texture in their drawings. I prefer my drawings to be smooth, and yeah, again, that's just a preference. So I tried these pencils and it's not really something I like if I compare it to what I'm used to. So also here I have another comparison. This is also Bristol Smooth and the 9000 graphite pencils and the black colored pencil for these darker values. You can see you see that shine, and that's because I pressed really hard to get that really dark value. But that's only if you look at it, from a different angle. So this is how you just look at the drawing from above or from the front. And here you can see that just that smooth shading that I like, and the difference here with this drawing. And this is on the same paper, but just the different pencils. So that's something that I didn't like. So I stopped using the Staedtler pencils. And again, some artists do like these pencils. I just wanted to show you, the difference, or what I discovered when I used them to create the drawings. And I also have Caran d'Ache. I'm not sure why. Normally, when you open a box, you open it from the right, and this one opens the other way. So these are Caran d'Ache Graphwood graphite pencils. Has anyone used these pencils before? So these are, this is the 7B. Let's see if I can get the 4B or the 8B, maybe compare it. Oh, this doesn't have the 8B. So these ones have the HB, and then the 3B. So the 3B, the 5B, the 7B, and the 9B. So I'm going to compare the 3B to the 4. No, let me compare the 5B. So I have been using these and comparing them. This is the 5B. Let's compare it here. I do like how soft they feel and how they blend. Let me add another layer. So this is the 4B and this is the 5B. So they are a bit lighter as well. Let me test the 9B. So this is the darkest one. This is the 9B. Let me compare it to the 8B. Yeah, so this is the 8B. Let me press harder because I also did that here. So this is the 8B 9000, 8B pit, and then 9B graphwood. Yeah, so not dark enough. So I would also need a darker value to use these pencils. So yeah, they could work, but my preference still goes to, yeah, Faber-Castell. I see that Erica also prefers Castell 9000. Using Castell 9000 with 8B, 7B, 6B replaced with Mars Lumograph Black 8B, 6B. So you started using these. And these could be great because they're darker, but yeah, again, I like to build up my layers with smooth shading, and then the last layers I use darker. Ton uses Koh-i-Noor. How do you pronounce that brand? I have read it before about that brand, never used it. Also, it depends on where you're from. If you go to a local art store, there could be different brands of pencils that are cheaper. So when I went to my local art store for the first time, Faber-Castell 9000 graphite pencils, I saw them everywhere, every city I went. These were in every art store. So I think these are quite popular and you can get them everywhere. Some brands are more difficult, so these Statler, I had to order them online because my local art store didn't have them. But I just saw different artists use them and I thought, yeah, I just need to try them out for myself before I can choose my favorite brand. Let me show you an example here. Because I was talking about the Caran d'Ache pencils. This is a drawing I created with them, and this is my first drawing I drew on gray toned paper. And this is really thin. I couldn't find the right gray toned paper, so I didn't really like the paper. So that can also give you a difference with yeah, how your end result looks. But yeah, the pencils were quite okay, and I think I used the black for the darkest because just like I showed you here, the 9B Caran d'Ache isn't that dark, so I see that I did need something to get darker values. So I think that is the black colored pencil, or maybe another black pencil. And I used Artline and Apsara, also brands I don't know. So Shannon asks, what's a darker pencils? You said that you use them on your last layers of your work. What pencils are included in the set? I meant to say the darker pencils. I understand. So when you look at the value scale here, these are the graphite pencils. So this is the 8B. I think these are just the lighter layers that I use when I smudge, I think with a tissue. That's how I create the lighter layers. I'm going to show you the blending tools in a moment. So this is the 8B, and then this is the black. But what I do with the black pencil... Oh, let me first finish talking about this portrait drawing. So you can see here, I also used white charcoal because this is gray paper. I thought, okay, I need to create white. So I used white charcoal, but then I needed brighter highlights. So that's where I used the white Uniposca. This is my favorite white marker to use for the brightest highlights, but I'm not sure if you can see it. It stands out too much. It's too white, and I don't really like how that turned out in my drawing. So I wouldn't use the white marker for shading on the face. I would use it for maybe like some highlights in the hair. So that's something I don't like, how that turned out in my drawing. And that's when I discovered, okay, I'm not going to use this for the skin anymore. Maybe just stick to a white charcoal pencil. I'm going to show you charcoals in a moment, but this is just charcoal white. And you can use it for the lighter. Yeah, but I remember I didn't like how this paper is really thin. And if you use really thin paper, you can't really layer. So that's what I remember. So yeah, I could make something out of it, but it's not my favorite. So Marbot sketching and drawing set, darkest is 8B. Yeah, you could draw with the darkest 8B, but what I discovered, let me see. Yeah, if you just have a drawing, I used the black for this. You can see that, oh, let me show you this one. If you don't use the black or the darks, your drawing can look a bit flat. So what I like to, why I like to use the darks is that it really makes your drawing pop. It really gives you that depth and 3D effect, and yeah, that's what I like about the drawings, to really make them pop, because you're drawing on flat paper, and how do you create? How can you create an illusion of 3D or something looking realistic and round? That's where values play a big role. Getting the darks in your drawings can really make it look more realistic. So here you can see the difference. And here, if you just use the 8B, the darkest in your set, then you don't really get those eyes to pop. You see that? The dark values with that I created using the black really helps giving that creating that depth in your drawing. So that's my favorite thing to do, to add the final details with the black. And what I wanted to show you, to answer your question, Shannon, here with the black pencil, let's see, I have the 8B here, so let's use the value scale. So if you look at the value scale, you have the 8B here, and you want that darker value. But what I also do with the 8B is I'm using light pressure now. So you can create different values with the same one dark pencil. So this is just a light layer. And now I'm going to add another layer, but then go over it a few times. So I'm going over it a few times, making it a bit darker, using a bit more medium pressure. And then when I get to the final details, and then I know I'm not going to be layering anymore, that's when I start, or that's when I go over it with more pressure to really get that dark, that black. So with the same pencil, I create different values as well. So I use the graphite until the 8B, then I can't get it darker anymore, and that's when I start to use the black colored pencil to darken some more. So here I have another example. The 8B just wasn't dark enough for the hair, and also here for the beard, for example. So I used the black with different pressure. So I went over the skin, and with every layer that I add, I use light pressure. I make sure that I use light pressure, because otherwise, if you press really hard, then you won't be able to layer over it. So here I pressed really hard with the 8B. Well, let me show you. With another layer. So I'm going to use really hard pressure. You can also try this out for yourself. Try using really hard pressure with your pencils, and then try layering over it. Use more pressure with another pencil. then you can might notice that it will be more difficult to layer and also blend. So talking about blending, let me show you what I use for blending. These are blending stumps, and when I use this to blend, you can't really blend this because it's because I used really hard pressure. I can blend this. This is a softer layer, and here these lighter layers. So you can use a blending stump to blend that layer out. That's what I like to do, build up the layers, and I blend after each layer. So I add a layer with light pressure, just like this, and then I blend after each layer. But what I also like to use, because sometimes with the blending stump you don't get it smooth enough, and that's when I use soft tissue. So this is just a regular soft tissue. I wrap it around my finger, and then you can smoothen this further and really get a nice smooth result. And that's what I use for smudging the skin. Like you see here, this skin around it. Then I use the soft tissue, so I add a layer, and then it's not really that smooth, and then I use the soft tissue to really smoothen out the graphite layer. And this is all Bristol smooth paper that I use. It really helps to get that smooth result that I prefer and that I like. Yeah, and then you can also blend with the blending stump again. Sometimes I also use the extra graphite that's on the stump and just add some graphite to an area if I need to. Mar has a pastel pencil in black, but this one is soft. Yeah, a pastel pencil could work well. Talking about pencils, let me show you the charcoal pencils, because pastel pencils are quite similar to charcoal, and I have tried out pastel pencils, but then color with graphite or with the black and white drawings. I like to use charcoal to combine, to get those darker values. Let me show you the difference. So this is the black with light pressure, medium pressure, and a bit more pressure. This is the 2B, 6B, and the 8B charcoal pencil. So this is a set. You have different brands of charcoal. I like these, and yeah, there are other brands that are also great. So I don't really have a particular brand that is my favorite, but let me show you. I'm just going to use really light pressure here. How dark you can already get this layer. Now I'm going to use more pressure. And this is just on smooth paper. So I also use the same paper. I know that some artists say if you're going to use charcoal, you need to use textured paper so that the charcoal can stick to the paper. But yeah, I just use it like this, and you can see how easy it is to blend. So charcoal is really nice to add to get those darks. The only thing with charcoal is that you can that it blends really easily, so you need to be careful, because I'm used to smudging, and the charcoal can get a bit messy. So that's just something you need to keep in mind. And let's what I like to do, talking about charcoal can get erased really easily. So this is the Tombow Mono Zero. I have been using this Faber-Castell eraser. This is Perfection 7056. For years. I've been using this one for years, but now I prefer to use the Tombow Mono Zero. I just like how I can erase finer lines and details with this. You can see that the tip is a bit thinner. Simon asked, do you mix charcoal with graphite? Yes, I'm going to get to that, and I'm going to show you an example of a few drawings I did. Mar asks, have charcoal pencil medium, soft and hard? Yes, this one is, the 2B is medium, the 4B is soft, and then the 6B is extra soft. So the softer the pencil, the darker it should be. But I don't really notice a big difference. So this is the medium. This is the 4B soft. Let me add another layer here. So I do notice that it is a bit softer. This is the 6B extra soft. Yeah, you can get that charcoal dust, you can just blow it away. So I don't notice a big difference, and they are just all black if I compare it to the graphite. So I just use one of these. I don't really notice a big difference. So the pencils, no, the erasers. This one is my favorite now, so I'm not using this one anymore. Actually, I should use it until, yeah, I should use it actually. But this is my favorite eraser now. It erases really easily. So this is just a layer of charcoal. Look how easy you can erase. And another example why I like to use light pressure is because here I've used hard pressure to swatch these. Let me show you that I can't erase. You see that? I can't erase these. Also, the kneaded eraser. This is what I use to lighten an area. Let's say I need, for this highlight, for example, you see that here under the eyebrow? I use a kneaded eraser, and then you can just pull that. So if I smudge this with the soft tissue, it all gets one value. And then maybe you smudged over the highlight and you want to bring that back. That's when I use the kneaded eraser. I really, yeah, bring that, make that area lighter again. And then you could see some smudges or eraser lines. And that's when I just take the soft tissue and smudge again to get a smooth result. So these are my favorite erasers to use. And I also have a new one. So this is the Faber-Castell eraser. Nope. Faber-Castell. So this is a new one. And I received a question like, when do you need to get a new kneaded eraser? And yeah, that's a good question because I've been using this one since the beginning. You can see the difference now that it's a bit darker because I also have been using this one for charcoal, graphite. So if I compare it now to the new one, I can see that it got a bit darker. It's also not as soft as the new one, but yeah. When do you need to get a new kneaded eraser? I would say when you start to get smudges on your paper. So if you put it down and you see, yeah, stains or smudges, then it should be time for a new one. But yeah, this one still works and it's clean. I can mold it to get a clean part. See that? And then yeah, I can still use this one. So, and I actually like that it's not as soft as this one. So I still use this, the one I got 10 years ago. So yeah, you don't have to get a new one every time. I have the backup now, but I'm still using the older one. So the kneaded erasers, or the kneaded eraser, and then just a regular one that I use when I'm sketching and I really need to erase like a larger area. Then you can use just any regular eraser is fine. But these are my favorite erasers, so I don't just use them as an eraser, but I use them as a drawing tool to create highlights in the drawings. And talking about highlights, yeah, I already mentioned this one. This is what I used for this bright white highlight in the eye. Let's see, the question, charcoal, do I mix charcoal with graphite? Yes, let's go over that. So I have a few drawings. This is one where I used graphite for the face, and then I used charcoal for her hair, and for those really dark dark areas. If I show you the black next to it, yeah, it's kind of like the same, but to create this dark value I really need to use a lot of pressure. When I just use one layer of this charcoal pencil, like I showed you here, you can get it really black. And what I like about using charcoal for the hair is that you can erase it really easily, like I showed you with this one. So that's how I created those highlights in the hair. And let me show you another example. This one I also used graphite, so I start building up the layers with graphite, and then I go over that with the charcoal. And let me tell you what I discovered. So let's say maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I started to use charcoal pencils, and I wanted to combine them with graphite like I did here, but it didn't work. And that's because I was using really hard pressure, or I wanted to get darker values with the graphite, and in the beginning I just pressed really hard to get those darker values. I didn't know that it prevents, or you can't layer over it, something I didn't really know. So when I wanted to go, so this is graphite 8B. If you want to go over this layer, maybe you can also try this at home. Use a graphite pencil and then use really hard pressure, like you want to get that darkest value with that graphite pencil, but then try layering over it with the charcoal. Look. Do you see the difference? Let's see if I can add a close-up here. So you can see that that graphite shine, it's showing through. See that? Here I have a dark, clean layer with the charcoal, but then here that shine, that graphite shine is showing through. I can't layer it. So that's what the problem I had. So I thought for years, oh, I can't use charcoal, I can't combine charcoal with graphite because this is what I get. It doesn't layer over the graphite. So, and this is what I did wrong. I used too much pressure with my graphite pencils, not making it, so I wasn't able to layer over it with the charcoal. That's something I discovered later. But yeah, sometimes you just need to try different things to discover new things and experiment. Another thing why I stopped using charcoal pencils is because this is the sharpener. Elisa, hope one day to draw like you. Love it, thank you so much. And with practice, because these are not my first drawings, this is the level this is after 10 years, so maybe in another video I could show you my beginner drawings, because you as a beginner, if you compare yourself to my level, that's actually not fair, you know. So That's something I always want others to keep in mind. When you compare your drawings to others, you need to know for how long they have been drawing. I always say, don't compare your drawings to others. Compare your drawing to, to yourself. You need to focus on your progress. So if you have been drawing, let's say for a few months, look back at your first drawing and compare it to the drawing, to the newer drawing. Look at your progress, and that's the only thing you need to compare to. I also always advise to write a date on the back of your drawing, and then with practice, weeks, months, you can always look back, and that's where you're going to see progress. As long as as you keep on practicing, of course. Not if you're not drawing and not practicing new techniques. You will need to practice. You will need to understand how to draw. You will need to learn new techniques, and that's when you will also, be able to get better and be able to improve yourself. Talking about the sharpener. So this is a sharpener with 3 holes. I'm not sure if you can see it with the lighting. 3 holes. And I liked using this one because when I started using colored pencils, I could use this smaller hole for the graphite pencils, but the colored pencils were thicker. So that's why I really liked using this one got a bit dirty here. For all of the pencils. But then when I started using this sharpener with charcoal pencils, the charcoal pencils kept on breaking. I'm not sure why, and I think that is because when you're going to sharpen charcoal, you need a really sharp blade. So maybe I could get a new sharpener, and then you could use it for a while. But with charcoal, it's really important that you have sharper blades. So when I started using colored pencils, I wanted to be able to sharpen really quickly, because with colored pencils you layer a lot and it takes a really long time, and then you have to sharpen again. And that's when I looked for an electric sharpener. So I don't use this one anymore. Let me show. See, this one is really big. See if I can show this on camera. This is AFMAT. This is an electric sharpener, and every thickness, any pencil thickness, fits through this hole. And what I like about this is that I can just, in a few seconds, you put it in and you get a really sharp pencil tip like this. Erica asks, why don't you use? Why you don't use? Do you mean, are you asking why I don't use this sharpener anymore? I used this one for years, but when I got the electric sharpener, I can sharpen a pencil in a few seconds. So this is what I use for everything now, for my graphite pencils, my colored pencils, and I discovered that it works really great with charcoal pencils. And the charcoal didn't break anymore. So if you're wondering, and if you also have a hard time sharpening charcoal pencils, I know some artists use a blade to sharpen. That's something I didn't want to do because that takes a lot of time. I discovered that I can sharpen charcoal pencils with this sharpener really easy. So this is my favorite. Electric sharpener. Yes, I use this electric sharpener for everything now. Elisa did not have good luck with electric sharpener. That maybe depends on the brand. I'm not sure which brand you used. I do have good luck with this one. This is AFMAT, and this one is also actually really cheap on Amazon. So I'm thinking if this one doesn't work anymore, or maybe the blades aren't sharp enough, I'm just going to get a new one. This is my favorite to use with anything. And now because I'm able to sharpen the charcoal pencils really easily, I started to combine them with my drawings. And when I know that I'm going to use charcoal, I try to keep in mind that I use light pressure and that I'm able to sharpen with the charcoal, to layer with the charcoal over the graphite. And let's see, I have another one here. I use charcoal for the eyes, but then for the background I didn't use charcoal. I used pan pastel. I have a white pan pastel and a black, and I use this with a sponge. This is a sponge, and you can just dip, put it in the pan pastel, and then you can really easily create a background like that. You could also just use charcoal. I tried charcoal powder, but I couldn't get it as dark as the pan pastel. So this is also something I like to use, pan pastel. And I also have the white, and that's because if you're going to be drawing on toned paper, then you also need light. So you could use a white charcoal pencil, but I thought, okay, I need some nice, soft, smooth shading for this. How can I create that lighter value? Because you start with the mid-tone here with the gray pencil. Jasper says it may be easier for me as I've only got one working hand. Is that maybe what you're saying? Yes, that's really easy because I have the electric sharpener next to me, and then I just put it in like with one hand and just a few seconds, and then I can continue drawing. It's really one of my favorites. Shannon asked, what fixative would you recommend? Lily has to leave. I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Hi, Miguel. Nice to have you joining us. I'm going over the materials I'm using. And for this gray toned paper, I use the white pastel with a soft brush. So you can get really nice, soft, smooth shading with a brush. So you can use a sponge, which I did for the background in the drawing I just showed you, and for this one, and then for this one I just use a brush because you can get like a softer, smoother effect, and you don't want to get a thick layer of pan pastel, just a light layer. Well, that was my goal here, so that's why I used a soft brush. So pan pastel is also a nice tool or material that I like to use. And if you're going to be using pan pastel, charcoal, then you need a fixative. So I have this one, and this is a matte and clear. So I wouldn't get a fixative that is shiny, but you want a nice matte layer that you don't see anything over your drawing. So this one, you can use it with charcoal, pencil, pastel, crayon, acrylic color, and this spray can be used on paper, cardboard, wood, plastic. This cover is fast drying, smudge, and weather resistant. So I don't really have one that I would recommend because this is just the first one I got and the one I use. So I don't really have others that I can compare it to. So I would, if you have a local art store somewhere, you could ask there, or you could just look for a fixative spray on Amazon maybe, and then type in fixative matte, clear matte spray. Yeah, I used this one because this is charcoal, and yeah, I'm not sure. I do think that it still smudges a bit, so I'm still careful with my drawings, even though, yeah, you use a fixative spray. It's not really, you still need to be careful with any when you're going to smudge over it, or when you put it away. So maybe the fixative I have is not good enough, not working good enough. If you have any fixative you would recommend to me, I would love to hear. I just bought one, and that's the one I use. So, hello, welcome from sunny Florida. You've been an artist for over 20 years. Welcome. Yeah, the Netherlands, it's raining here today, but that's a perfect day for, yeah, sitting inside, talking about art, showing my favorite materials. More has to go. You're welcome, and yeah, I hope to see you next week, and you can always watch the replay if you need to go. So let's move on to paper. Marianne asks, do you use fixative on graphite too? Yeah, well, you can. This yeah, this fixative works charcoal, pencil, pastel. Yeah, so you could use it, but I have never, so for my regular graphite drawings, I never used fixative for them, because the graphite doesn't smudge really easily. Once you start using charcoal, I have done that before, accidentally smudged over my drawing. So that's when you will discover, okay, I will need to be careful with the charcoal. And I can see here that I smudged a bit. So whenever I accidentally smudge, if you have that in your drawing, that's when I use the kneaded eraser and just go over it. So you can just clean any air. Oh, you see, I have been holding my charcoal pencils, and that's what I mean with being careful. But the good thing about charcoal is that you can erase it really easily. So I really love, yeah, it can get messy. So if you're not a fan of that, I really had to get used to that, because with graphite doesn't get messy. So your table can get messy, your paper, but the good thing about the kneaded eraser is that you can really easily, yeah, clean up any smudges on your paper. So that's a great thing. So I never really worry about that. I don't use a paper to put over my hand. I just try to be careful, and if that happens, if I get any smudges, well, just clean it up with the kneaded eraser. Simon, heard that, and I've used hairspray as it seems to work and is cheap. Yeah, I have heard that also about that. But I believe in hairspray there's something that gives you a shine. So it could be that when you spray that on your drawing, you can get like a shine. And I also think that if you keep your drawing for a year or a few years in your, somewhere, maybe that hairspray layer on your drawings, it could turn out a bit yellow. So I wouldn't use that, because art, if you're creating like a whole drawing, and if you have a finished piece that you're proud of, you don't want to ruin it. So I haven't tried it, but yeah, you could try it out, and maybe try it out on a practice drawing, see how that turns out. I'm thinking that it wouldn't be the best idea. Hello Lisa, good morning from sunny California. Chris needs to start drawing again. Yeah, you're welcome, Simon. That's just what I think. I don't have any experience, so maybe someone who does have experience, maybe the hairspray works well. I would just be careful with anything you use on your drawings. And yeah, with graphite, I've never been really careful, so I have other work that has smudges on it. But yeah, let's move on to the paper. Thank you so much, Jasper. I appreciate it. I want to show you my favorite paper. And this is a big one. This is size A3. So I have smaller ones, but this is Strathmore Bristol, and this is the 300 series. So this is the smooth paper I have been using for years, and it works really well with everything. So yeah, it's just one of my favorites. I also have tried, this is the 500 series Bristol Smooth. Yeah, of course I had to try this one, but if I compare it to the 300 series, I really don't notice a big difference. And I could get this paper in my local art store. I couldn't get this one, but I just had to try it, so I bought it online. But now that I have it, yeah, I'm going to use it, of course. But if I compare it to this one, the 300 series, it just works the same. The pencils, the layering, the blending, it all just feels and works the same. And this Bristol 500, it's 2-ply. So I looked that up, how thick it is. So it's 260 GSM. And this one is 270 GSM. So it's even a bit thinner. And I prefer my paper to be thick enough. So yeah, this one being cheaper, I would say stick to this one. I just don't really like this yellow cover. But hey, the paper is white, so this is my favorite paper all time. I would just stick to this one just because it's cheaper. I also have this is the 400 series Strathmore mixed media, but this is the vellum surface. I also have this one in vellum surface, and it has a bit more texture. And yeah, like I said, I just prefer my paper to be as smooth as possible, just because I like that smooth blending. I have, let me show you, this one, I always write it on the back. This one, I drew this on hot pressed watercolor paper. And yeah, let me see if I can show you, if you can see the difference. So you can just get smoother result on the smooth paper. I know that some artists like to use hot pressed watercolor paper. You can get those really beautiful dark blacks. But when I started the shading and the smudging and the blending, it didn't get that as smooth as I prefer. So that's what I discovered, yeah, trying out different paper. Let's see, I also have another one. This one is on Fabriano hot pressed watercolor paper, and this one is on Arches hot pressed watercolor paper. Let me get rid of these paper blocks. So let's see if I have, if I can show you a difference with this one. So this one is on Bristol Smooth, and this paper got a bit damaged. Like I told you, I just have it in a folder. But this is on Bristol Smooth paper, and I like that smooth blending. This one is on hot pressed watercolor, and this is also on hot pressed watercolor paper. If you compare the difference, I didn't really like how it's a bit textured. It's just not smooth. So Elisa asked, did you like hot pressed watercolor? Yeah, if I compare it to the Bristol Smooth paper that I'm used to, I would say I prefer the smooth paper. So I didn't really like that. is that 300 series Strathmore Bristol. Yes, that's the 300 series Bristol smooth paper by Strathmore, and that's my all-time favorite paper, which I use for every drawing. So yes, I tried watercolor paper, just not a fan of it. So this is all Bristol smooth. I'm wondering, so this was, I drew this, let me check the back. Yeah, this was in 2015. So when this was one of my first videos I created for YouTube. Not sure if any of you remember. This one is also one I created for YouTube. But this is all on Bristol smooth paper. And for the toned paper, this is the toned gray. This is also Strathmore. This is the 400 series. Toned gray mixed media paper, and this one is 300 GSM, so quite thick. Yeah, you can see that I tested this out before I did the actual drawing here. I tested out the Pastels to see if that worked, tested out the charcoal and the graphite, and yeah, I actually do like this paper, this gray toned paper. The only thing I don't really like is that you can really see that those fibers. Not sure, yeah, maybe if you have this paper you know what I mean. You see those lines, those fibers in the paper. So if you're not a fan of that, that's only one thing I can think of that I don't really like about this paper. But the idea of drawing on toned paper, it's something that you can experiment with, because it's a really different technique. Because with white paper, you start with the white, you build up the layers all the way to the black. With the toned paper, you start with here in the middle, and then you will need to create the lighter values as well as the darker values. So it requires a bit different technique, but yeah, so far I do like the toned paper. I'm curious to know which paper is your favorite. I would say my favorite is the Bristol smooth paper, all time. My first eye drawing was following your YouTube video of that eye with tear. Yeah, I thought so. This one was a very popular video, and this one I created in, I think, 2015 or 2016. And you can see that when I started drawing, I drew really big. So you can see the eye drawings that I create now, they aren't as big. They are smaller, because I discovered, yeah, in the beginning I thought you need to draw it really big, you need to add all of those details to make it look realistic. But over the years I discovered that you don't have to draw it that big. You just need to create depth, you just need to add value. That's how you will create a realistic drawing, not by making it really big. So that's when I started to create smaller drawings. So here, this is A4. I drew one eye, but now I use like half of it. This is A5, half of this paper, for a whole portrait. And you can see that you can still get realistic results, even though it's really small. You see that? You will just need to, yeah, create depth. So I have a few drawings. Have you tried the moleskin paper? No, actually. I don't really know that brand. Moleskin paper, no. Haven't. Yeah, let me know. Do you like that paper? Have you compared it to other ones? So these are a few drawings that these are all video lessons that are included in the drawing course, in the membership. and these are all on Bristol smooth paper. Ton uses Arches hot pressed paper. Do you use it with graphite? So this one is on Arches hot pressed paper. And when I look at this one and compare it to this, maybe I could have gone darker. Yeah, I'm not sure. You see that? I missed that dark value if I compare it to this one. So yeah, that's why I just sticked to the Bristol smooth paper. And all of these drawings I used graphite. Let's see, the Faber-Castell 9000 graphite pencils, and hope to see you next time, Elisa. Have a nice day. Thank you for joining us. Lisa, I started using Moleskine. It is very smooth and comes in a sketchbook. I purchased Moleskine sketchbooks. Yes, I have seen those. Yeah, but never tried. It's very smooth. Okay, so I have one sketchbook. Ton, yes, I use graphite. Not yet tried with charcoal. Yeah, you should try it with charcoal sometime. I just because I prefer smoother paper, I wouldn't use hot pressed paper anymore. So talking about sketchbooks, I have this one. This is art creation, art talent. So this is one I like because of the smooth. So maybe this is also comparable to the Moleskine sketchbook. It's very smooth. The only thing I don't like is that the paper is it's not white. You can see here, this is white paper and this is not white. So that's something I don't like, but I do like how smooth it is. So it's one thing I tried with Sketchbook. And in my sketchbook, I try to draw a bit more, create a bit more sketched look. You can see that these drawings are realistic, with smooth detail, smooth shading. And this I try to, not blend and smoothen. So this is the sketchbook. These drawings, I created them all with Bristol Smooth, my favorite art materials, the 9000 graphite pencils, and all with the black pencil for the darkest values. So these are all video lessons available in the membership, where we go over, also show you how to draw fur, how to create details in a white beard with graphite. Let's see, I used the embossing technique for this, for those white details in the beard. Whiskers, fur. For this drawing I used pan pastel for the back. So these are one of the first drawings I added a background, because normally I never add backgrounds because it takes a lot of time. I wasn't sure what to use, because with graphite I'm not going to color or shade in the whole background with just a graphite pencil. So I never added backgrounds. For here I just used this soft tissue to create that smooth, soft effect. But here I used pan pastel and actually really like it, because this fox, it needed a background. You see that white, that beautiful white fur against the background. So it's something I would use again, pan pastel. And then I used the eraser to erase these fur details. We also go over different hair texture. And for this one, I just used the black with different pressure and an eraser to create those highlights. And Shannon, you're so welcome. Yes, you can watch the replay, and you can also post a question in the comments below the video so I can have a look, and then maybe I can go over that next week. So just let me know. Thank you for joining. These are all hair texture, and again, this is all on Bristol Smooth paper. facial features. I recommend to practice drawing facial features before you start creating portraits. And then this is just regular thin sketching paper. So if you're going to practice sketching, I would advise to practice that on just regular paper. You can see that this is more of a sketched look. And here the difference on smooth Bristol smooth paper with the smooth shading, you can get a realistic look. This is more of a sketched look, and again, it's a preference. Yeah, what you like and yeah, what you prefer. So that's the paper. My favorite paper is the Bristol Smooth, and I'm also trying out toned paper now, and I also really like how combining charcoal with graphite works really well. So that's something I do like. Yeah, that's the materials. Yeah, I use for the graphite and the charcoal. I think my hands got a bit dirty from all of the charcoal, so that's something you need to get used to. Sometimes I just use the kneaded eraser, rub it off. Oh yeah, I also use the kneaded eraser when I want to clean the blending stump. It's also something I like to use. Okay, so yeah, let me know if you have any favorite materials, or if you have any questions about the materials I went over. I know that once you have a favorite material or a certain pencil you like, then you just yeah, you like to use that. Nothing can compare. I have tried out different brands, but nothing can compare to the Faber-Castell graphite pencils 9000. And so I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I loved hanging out with you and going over my favorite graphite and charcoal materials. So if you have any suggestions for next week's topic, or if you still have any questions, you can, yeah, feel free to drop it in the comments below. And you're so welcome, Erica. And I hope to see you next week. So I would love to hear any suggestions you have. Maybe I could go over colored pencils next time. Maybe watercolors. There are different materials that I use and that I really like using. So these are all black and white drawings, but I also have colored pencil drawings. Let me show you one that I have here on my table. This is one I created with colored pencils. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you found this helpful. And if you'd like to get any updates and reminders, you can also join my email list. There's a link below the video as well. And if you're interested in learning more from me, you can also check out my step-by-step art courses, or you can join my art membership. You'll find all the details in the link below. And okay, that's it for today. I'll see you next week. I hope you could be joining me next week for another creative session. And have a nice day or evening. Bye.